Now, the table is always hot with current events and social issues, but sometimes the heat can get a little intense. Let's turn the temp down, take a breather, and get into this week's topic cool down. Andre, what do you have for us?
All right, Daquon, I want to ask you, how do you feel about Hollywood mediums or those who claim to speak to the dead for a fee?
I'm gonna just say this. If something is dead, it is dead. I'm not trying to speak to it. Like, I feel like if it died for a reason. We're not trying to bring them back and have conversations with them. But like that is completely separate from spiritual practices and everything like that. Like that is completely different. If your spiritual beliefs have that part in you, like I 100% respect that. But this is more for the people who specifically charge for a fee because it's like it just rubs me the wrong way because you are profiting off of other people's death, other people's dead loved ones. Like you are profiting off of that pain. People are coming to you because they have that pain. And you say some things. Now, I'm not going to say whether I believe that mediums actually speak to the dead or not, because
Mhm.
that's a whole nother can of worms. But I think that is one of those things that even in that situation, I think that it feels icky to me that you
Mhm.
are basing your entire business off of that pain, if that makes any sense.
It does. I feel the same way about Hollywood mediums as I do about Christian televangelists.
Oh,
And I think that they are both incredibly problematic for much of the same reasons. Once something is mainstream, it's really hard to maintain integrity and authenticity of the work that you do because mainstream is formulated to be consumed by the masses. Now, I'm not saying that there probably aren't a handful of people who may believe they have the gift to commune with the dead because there's no way to know or prove that sort of thing.
right.
However, if those people do exist, they have been overshadowed by those who are just looking to get a paycheck. Um, the commercialization of religion and faith has damaged the integrity of all mediums and spiritual healers. Too many of them have been caught researching their clients beforehand, having inner earpieces, being encouraged by their production teams to make it bigger or more intense, all in an effort to boost ratings. And what hurts the most about Hollywood mediums for me is that there are people who are out there who truly want to connect to someone they've lost. And these people who claim to be psychic mediums weaponize the grief of their clients against them. They
Mhm.
sometimes purposefully lead the session astray so that the person will have to pay more for another session, and many of them use cold reading techniques to make their client believe they are actually communing with the deceased when in reality the psychic, that's it with air quotes, is just giving them very general information that they narrow down based on the reactions of the client. I mean, they
Right.
create the
I'm,
illusion.
I'm I'm speaking to somebody
Yeah.
that once wore a black shirt.
Wait a minute. Was your mother, was she did she laugh? Was she
She
able to
left.
laugh?
Right. What I'm getting this feeling of a masculine figure. Have you ever known a masculine person?
Like they really do create this illusion of a supernatural phenomenon through various forms of manipulation tactics. And like I said, that's just as problematic as a Christian televangelist trying to sell you salvation for 5 easy payments of $89.95. Like, let me just say this real quick. I want to clarify that I myself am a spiritualist. But just because I believe in intuition, tarot reading, and magic, doesn't mean that I wouldn't challenge spiritualism just as much as I challenge Christianity. Because, like all faiths that exist, it cannot be proven as fact. I believe that there is nothing wrong with having faith. Faith is a beautiful thing, a wonderful thing. But when you try to sell it to me as fact, that's where I draw the line, because it's not fact. It's a belief, your belief, more specifically. Um, I'm just as quick to check a bitch who claims to know for a fact that she can see the future and cast spells as I would a bitch who tells me that God and Christianity is the only way to a peaceful afterlife. But
Okay, Raven Simone.
but for argument's sake, Daquon, let's say for a fact that people could see the dead, right? Let's say that was a fact that we knew, right? When big money gets involved, it may be really, really, really difficult for people to maintain that integrity. Many people in the world have a price, and those who claim to be psychics are not immune to being persuaded by the mighty dollar. That's not to say that some don't come in with the original intention of helping people. And let's say that they turn down certain deals because it conflicted with their moral compass. Maybe a TV show producer offered them $10,000 to make up something for an audience, right? And even if they didn't, connect to something or whatever, they said no. So they were like, no, I'm not gonna do that, right? Then the producer offers them 20,000, 50,000, 100,000.
100.
And if those numbers get high enough, even if they receive no kind of vision or connection, they'll put on a very mighty believable performance. I mean, but I want to ask you also, Daquon, have you noticed that if you watch these mediums go off and talk about all the stuff or whatever, it's always good news? Have you noticed that?
Yeah. It's like, oh, I'm getting this voice. Somebody with the name Bees starts with the name B. They're telling me that they're happy.
Yeah,
They're telling me that they feel good.
they
Because I
forgive
think that
you.
I think that's part of, the whole package. Because if you gave bad news, if you say, "Oh, yeah, no, they're burning, they're screaming, they're in trouble," that person who came to you is like, "I'm never going to come to you again because that's
Yeah,
not what I wanted to hear." And I think that to a certain extent, if you go to a medium, there is something that you want to hear. You want to hear that, somebody who passed on forgives you for something that you did. You want to hear that somebody who passed on feels at peace and they're at rest and they're happy and they're, reconnected with their other loved ones that may have passed before them. That's what you want to hear. And so I think that anytime something is on TV, let's be real, I don't think it's real. Like,
right.
because TV studios, they have to deal with the numbers. They gotta make profits, and so if you're not giving good TV, they're
Yeah.
just going to scrap the project and move on to whatever else is going to make them some quick bucks.
Exactly. And I think that it's so crazy because I'm like, I'm still waiting for that disgruntled, mean, nasty ghost. You know what I'm saying? That family member, Delia, who found out that after she died, that her husband had been sleeping with her sister for the past 3 years or something like that, or some shit like that. Like, I'm waiting for that kind of shit. But we don't see that kind of shit in the media and on medium shows and stuff like that. And I think, honestly, that would be more believable because I can't with everybody saying, oh, she wants to say that she loves you.
Also,
And then
I don't know if you've noticed, I feel
what?
like a lot of mediums that are on TV are also white, and I feel that plays a role into it as well.
Daquon. Daquan. You better bring that shit back. We can't get into that, Daquan. This is the time to cool down. This is I've been cool down.
We got to cool down, cool down.
But bitch, you said that. I'm gonna move on because you said that. That's it right there. Ooh. Now, so many children grow up never knowing the full scope of what their culture has contributed to society and history. So, Daquan, I think it's time for a change. Let's
Amen.
let's take a pause, rewind, and remind the world just how we did that. In an article written on the National Visionary Leadership Project, we learn about Leah Chase, also known as the Queen of Creole Cuisine. She was the executive chef of Dookie Chase's restaurant, one of the best known and most culturally significant restaurants in New Orleans. In a town deeply divided by segregation, Dookie Chase's restaurant was one of the only public places in New Orleans where mixed race groups could meet to discuss strategy for the local civil rights movement. Although such gatherings were illegal through most of the 1960s, Dookie Chase's was so popular it would have caused a public uproar if law enforcement had interrupted the meetings. Black voter registration campaign organizations, the NAACP, backdoor political meetings, the Nation of Islam, and countless others often found a home at Dookie Chase's. Chase has fed the likes of Jesse Jackson, Duke Ellington, Thurgood Marshall, James Baldwin, Ray Charles, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and countless others. Black women.
I just love to hear it. Love to hear it. Black women.
Black women. Black women, black women, black women.
Black women. On the topic of Black women, Marian Anderson is known as one of the most renowned singers of the 20th century. The daughter of a small business owner and teacher, Anderson began performing as early as the age of 10. Though she tried to enroll in the Philadelphia Music Academy, she was rejected due to her race. Despite that, her career absolutely flourished as she won first prize in a New York Philharmonic competition, toured Europe, performed nearly 70 recitals a year in the 1930s, sang for not one but two presidential inaugurations, was the first African American to perform at the Metropolitan Opera in New York, sang during the March on Washington, had over 1,500 songs in her repertoire, sang in 9 languages, and performed on 4 continents. Anderson, let's be real, that is Black excellence right there. Anderson was not only awarded for her musical talents, but also her work for civil rights and peace. She earned the NAACP Springer Medal in 1939, the United Nations Peace Prize in 1977, a Grammy Award for Lifetime Achievement in 1991, and was not only the first African American woman to receive a Presidential Medal of Freedom, but one of the original 31 to be the first recipients, period.
Bitch! Bitch!
When I say Black women, they're not just constantly rising the bar, they are setting the bar.
They are the standard. The fuck? Like, at this
They
point,
are the bar.
Like, this, oh my God, like, 8. Like, she, girl left no crumbs. Bitch, that plate is clean. That plate is, bitch, she ate the plate. She ate the fucking plate. That's fucking sickening. Now, as always, thank you all so much for watching, and please keep the conversation going down in the comment box below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, and if you are listening to us on our podcast, please rate and review on whatever platform you're using. You can also follow our podcast on Instagram and TikTok at the Melanin Margin for updates of new content.
And if you like to follow each of us, our handles are at Daquon MUE
and at Andre Talks a Lot, baby.
Now we will see you all next week on the Melanin Margin, where our goal is always to bring the marginalized to the spotlight in any way we can. Goodbye now.